Thank you for coming out on such a hot evening, and we've managed to get everything working, which is quite incredible. But it's really lovely to see you as we continue in our series on the works of mercy. And I'm really delighted to welcome this evening Helen. I've got a problem with names this evening. Helen Netherton and Liz Rooke, who are going to be speaking for us tonight, and they're both part of that amazing charity, which I'm going to say is Connecting Canterbury, and you'll say, no, it's not.
No,
you got
that's
the wrong
right.
one.
Yeah,
I got it right. I got something right. Fantastic. So it's really great that you've come this evening, and I know that I've been told by Little Bird that you're both excellent speakers, so I'm really looking forward.
No pressure there.
No pressure there. And you're going to be speaking on Feed the Hungry. Feed the Hungry.
Yes, we are.
It's not a
Yes.
nice way to talk about Jonathan.
Well, he is a song thrush after
Yes, he is.
or maybe even a lark, we'll call him that. So over to you, Liz.
Thank you, Emma. Hello everybody, I'm Liz Rooke. I'm part of the church at All Saints in Military Road, and I have a responsibility there for looking after the community larder. And it seemed highly appropriate, therefore, to be invited to come and talk about feeding the hungry. I hope that what I'm saying will take us on a bit of a wider journey than just the immediate nature of mouths and food. All Saints have been providing for the hungry for some years now. Post-COVID-19, the church has been open every Friday morning to supply food bags for people in need. The food bags consist of just a selection of essential goods which are put together each week with the donations that are made either in cash or kind by individuals, groups and organisations which help us to do this. These are the contents of a normal food bag. You might think, well, it's not a lot. And in fact, it amounts to about £4 worth in value. Once a month, we also add in a toiletry bag, which contains a flannel, toothpaste, toothbrush, some shower gel or shampoo and soap. That costs us about £5. So if you're somebody who comes to the food larder every Friday, and we do have very regular attenders, over the course of a year, you could amass goods to the value of £268. In addition to the food donated for our weekly food bags, we receive food to share with our guests, and this food is surplus to requirement for different organisations in the city, and it's shared between different parts of a network which exists in Canterbury, supplying free food for people in need and ensuring that nothing goes to waste. And I mean nothing. I have 3 crates of celeriac at All Saints, which nobody wants. And my volunteers who are with us tonight will know about that. And tomorrow that will probably end up at Green Hill at the Animal Sanctuary. Nothing goes to waste. We're very blessed in providing our services on Friday at the end of the week, when people who've already supplied food to the people they work with during the week have no further need of the surplus that they hold, and so they pass it on. We never know what surplus food will be available each Friday. It could be bread, fresh fruit, vegetables, salad, frozen products, eggs, meat. All that we receive early in the morning on Friday is placed on what we call our freebie tables around the hall at All Saints. And people at a certain point in time are invited to come and take what they want. So that is in addition to the food bag that everybody gets. The community larder is affiliated with various organisations: Asda, Waitrose, Tesco Express in New Dover Road, Olio, Booker's, Pets at Home and the Challock Gleaners, from whom we receive regular donations of food which play an important part in keeping our supplies at a good level across the year. We work very hard to build relations with people and organisations who provide surplus food for us to give away. Consistency and availability are key components in the building of these relationships. Much of our work requires a quick response to requests for us to come and collect food at short notice. And we need good knowledge of where food collected can best be placed for reaching people as quickly as possible. A good example would be how on Monday night at 10:22 a text arrived with me asking could I collect a supply of bread from Olio. We collected at 9:30 on Monday morning and then proceeded to deliver the bread to Catching Lives, because they were the organisation most likely at that point in the week to be able to distribute the food with immediate effect. The sharing of food in this way is an important part of maintaining and developing good working relations between organisations. Catching Lives, for instance, regularly share food with us that they're unable to use in their kitchens, but which they know is suitable for our customers. We, for our part, repay that compliment by ensuring a good supply of root vegetables to them when the chalet gleaners are at work. So we'll deliver potatoes and things like that that they can use in their kitchen. And cabbage too, that's a popular one from the gleaners. Recent developments include an invitation by Asda's community champion to us to set up a donation point for the community larder in the reception area of the store in Storey Road. We accepted readily and were ready to go 2 days later with a full complement of volunteers who offered to stand in 2-hour shifts. One standing day developed into 4 over a period of 7 days. And each day was supported by existing volunteers and people who heard about it who suddenly wanted to help us. It was an incredibly generous offer which was made to us at very short notice by Asda, and a period in which we saw over and over again the generosity of people wanting to donate money or food for our cause. And now we're invited to stand 1 day a month there in a store which gives us an opportunity to go forward with our work. None of what I've described here would be possible without the willingness and energy of many people who want to support us. We started with just a small group of volunteers and helpers, and it's been so encouraging to observe how the enthusiasm of this group has spread and gradually drawn others into the circle of support. Growth has been organic, it's been unexpected, it's been surprising. People, some of whom have been on the receiving end of our support, are now wanting to offer their help in a variety of ways, ranging from sorting and storing donated food, packing food up, decanting products which are donated in bulk into smaller, more manageable amounts, washing up, keeping the tables supplied with cakes and biscuits, designing questions for quizzes that we run, bingo sessions, and demonstrating the cooking of simple dishes, and just being around to chat to people. And we also have people who don't help at church, but who are beavering away in the background, collecting glass jars, egg cartons, and all of that is really important. Oh, plastic bags to put the food in, that's another issue. We're immensely grateful to one and all. So that was the first bit. Who are these hungry people? I hope that's given you a bit of an idea. What are the needs of the hungry? It's hard not to assume that we know what people's needs are. We try to respond to those needs, and we feel sure about, and we work hard to communicate with people in a... We try to respond to those needs we feel sure about, and we work hard to communicate with people in a way that helps them articulate what their needs are, what are the pressures that they're under, and those needs of which we might not be aware. In December 23, as winter took hold, December 22, as winter took hold, we haven't got to winter yet, have we? We would arrive at church to find a queue of people waiting outside in the cold and waiting to come into church for their food bags. This was during a period when winter warm spaces were being introduced up and down the United Kingdom. And so we decided to open our space an hour earlier in order to provide breakfast for people to enjoy before food distribution started, and to further help with the cost of living crisis and the increased heating of homes, which has really been a burden to people. This development proved very successful, and 2 months later we felt quite unable to close the space simply because the weather was getting warmer. So with the approval of the PCC, we've been able to continue to develop the work, and so now we have tea and toast at 9 o'clock, and that is a session that's thriving between 9 and 10, and then we distribute food 10 till 12. We asked people to tell us why they like coming to All Saints on Friday, and we received a variety of responses which were for the most part positive. People spoke about feeling welcome and having a sense of belonging. They appreciated the respect afforded to them, and they felt comfortable being in the space. They enjoyed getting to know one another, and they mentioned new friendships which they'd formed since attending. Tea and toast sessions were very popular. They particularly liked the opportunity to sit round a table with other people, something that not everybody gets a chance to do every day. Ironically, hardly anything was said about the food, either the food that we give in the food bags or the free food. There was mention, however, that they would like porridge provided for breakfast, if that was possible, and extra Marmite would be good too. Volunteers discussed wanting to develop a culture where people attending didn't feel done to. Rather, they wanted our guests to feel that we were working alongside them, to make them feel one with us. Imagine our surprise when one day, before the distribution of food began, we were preparing to pray together. That was something we did every week, just a small group of us at the back of the church. Could they join in? We'd never presumed that they would want to do that. And all that we needed to do was to open our little circle out and to embrace all those that did want to join. It was amazing, totally unexpected. 2 weeks ago, one of the guests asked if he could pray before the food distribution began. He drew himself up to his full height and he prayed very solemnly, "For what we are about to receive, may the Lord make us truly thankful." And then he concluded with a benediction and the sign of the cross. We've started including a 2-minute thought for the day with our prayer time, and this gives opportunity for a straightforward look at some current issue, which gives us an opportunity to remind our listeners of gospel truths in a fairly short and simple way. Some weeks ago, a lady asked if she could speak before I prayed. I didn't have a clue what she was going to say, but I gave her the floor. She said she'd been thinking about the kindness of people serving as volunteers at the community larder, and thought that it might be nice to find a way of the guests expressing their gratitude for what we do. She suggested a donation tin which could be passed around for people to put money in as they felt able to. People clapped and cheered in approval, and the next week, the donation tin appeared. 3 weeks later, just before prayers, the donation tin was presented to me, and inside, £71.67. Another surprise. Another thing we were learning about the people who were building friendships and relationships with each other and us. The second tin is now doing the rounds. We see people wanting to show their gratitude and wanting to contribute their own skills and their own resources. One lady, who used to be a baker, brings freshly made pastries to share at tea and toast. Another person is busy growing vegetables on an allotment so that those can be shared. 3 gentlemen turn up at 8 o'clock every week to help put up the tables for breakfast and to carry donated food from the cars in the car park upstairs into the larder. I believe there's a real need for everyone to feel that they can be useful, purposeful and make meaningful contributions. And it's no less true for people whose means are reduced through ill health, through poverty, through unemployment and debt. We've been pleased recently to introduce 30 to 40-minute activities on a Friday morning, which are designed to give people an opportunity to play and learn together. So far we've played bingo, we've had topical quizzes, we've had a cookery session in which we learned how to make a meat-free pasta sauce. We've celebrated the coronation with a quiz and right royal prizes. And in the planning are top tips for money management and a strawberry tea to celebrate the Wimbledon Championships. So the last section, what are the needs of those who feed the hungry? Why do we do what we do? And what are the needs of those of us who serve our friends each week through the All Saints Community Larder? I've always been quite challenged in my Christian faith by a parable that Jesus tells, in which he speaks about people who are hungry and thirsty, those who feel like strangers, those who have few clothes to wear, those who are sick and alone, and those who are in prison. Jesus' words are these: I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger and you invited me in. I needed clothes and you clothed me. I was sick and you looked after me. I was in prison and you came to visit me. Then the righteous will answer, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you? Or thirsty and give you something to eat? Give you something to drink, rather. When did we see you a stranger and invite you in? Or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and go to visit you? The king will reply, truly I tell you, whatever you did to one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. As volunteers, we certainly need compassion, understanding, flexibility, wisdom, a willingness to come alongside people. We need knowledge of the current pressures in society and a willingness to keep informed about these and updated. And yes, we also need a non-judgmental attitude. Northgate Ward, which is where our church is one of the poorest in the city, with child poverty rates higher than in many London boroughs. Can you conceive of that? It's the place where life expectancy is reduced by up to 10 years compared with other boroughs, other wards in our area. And these are facts that are confirmed in the recently produced report by the Sustainable Development Goals Forum. Poverty in Canterbury today. We're pleased we've been invited to join the newly formed Poverty Forum, which the Sustainable Development Goals Forum have implemented, let's say. It will help us to keep abreast of facts and figures, and it will underpin the work we do going forward. We've got around 20 volunteers in the community larder. Not all profess to be Christians, but we do need all who join us to be sympathetic to the Christian faith. Those of us who are Christians have a definite desire to see everyone come to know Jesus as their friend and saviour, whoever they are, wherever they're from. We believe that people should see in the love and care shown on Friday at All Saints something of the love of God. We want folk to know there's no distinction between guests and volunteers. We're all made in the image of God, a God who loves us. And we want people to know that we serve them because we know Jesus, who served and loved everyone and who told us about how this looks in practice in the passage I read to you. So should we be wanting our friends to come to church then? Well, if the church is the body of Christ, our prayer is that for now, Friday can be part of our friends' experience of what church is, as they get to know us, as they build relationships with us. And our prayer is that we might slowly but surely help people want to know more about the God we serve, who makes such a difference in our lives. Please pray for us. Steve Jorgen wrote a book called conspiracy of kindness, and with this I close. He started a church in Cincinnati, Ohio. It grew to an attendance of 7,000 people. Their motto is, "Small things done with great love are changing the world." They carry out random acts of kindness, like paying for a stranger's coffee or writing a thank you note to a shop assistant. Kindness is love in work clothes, showing God's love in practical ways. They've discovered the power of kindness to effect positive change, both in their lives and the lives of the people around them. Unexpected kindness is the most powerful, least costly, and most underrated agent of human change. When kindness is expressed, healthy relationships are created, community connections are made and nourished, and people are inspired to pass on kindness. This is our experience at All Saints. And we thank God for this amazing opportunity, which has come out of a very difficult period in our society post-COVID and in the context of the ongoing cost of living crisis. If we can be anything, let's be kind. For surely, kindness is a fruit of the Holy Spirit, and it's so closely linked with the acts of mercy under consideration in this series of talks. Proverbs 14 says, "Blessed is he who is kind to the needy. Whoever is kind honours God." May God bless us as we honour him by prioritising the poor and showing kindness to those in need. Thank you for listening.
Good evening, everyone. So my name's Helen Netherton, and I worship at All Saints Church as well. I'm the team lead for Connecting Canterbury. I'm originally from Birmingham, so please don't hold that against me. But I've been living in Canterbury pretty much since I came down for university in 2000. I've been married to Gav for 19 years in August, and just so you know, we enjoy eating out, stand-up comedy and watching some random programmes and films. And I'm recently retired from full-time secondary teaching of religious studies. Now, we're told on numerous occasions that Jesus had compassion for the people he saw. Compassion isn't just about the emotion of feeling sorry for people, as we might think. It's to recognise the need and to help in that situation. I think we're all aware of the cost of living crisis and the rise of energy prices. But I don't think I fully understood how far this stretched. Last week I was watching the news, and there was a story about the effect of COVID-19 in Bolton. Now, this is one of the areas with the most COVID-19 cases, but also an area with the lowest take-ups for vaccines. So I automatically questioned why. The answer being because the majority of people were on 0-hour contracts. So if they missed work to go for a vaccine appointment, they wouldn't get paid. That shocked me. It horrified me. It's something that I just really couldn't comprehend at all. Something I hadn't considered. I knew that people weren't having vaccines because of stories that they'd heard, but never did it occur to me that people wouldn't take a vaccine because of pay. The cost of living crisis is affecting everyone. But for some, it isn't a matter of living life. It's a matter of living, full stop. And this is where Connecting Canterbury tries to step in and tries to help in these situations. Connecting Canterbury. I started volunteering about 20 months ago, and I became a team lead in February of this year. But what is it? It's part of the Social Justice Network, and we currently offer 3 main services, which are emergency energy grants, applying for various grants, including Acts 435 applications, but also signposting, form filling, and connecting people with various services that they need. And we also, alongside that signposting, etc., we work alongside the Citizens Advice Bureau, which has been an absolute lifesaver. So Connecting Canterbury started in January 2016 and has evolved quite significantly since then, evolving along with the needs of the communities. Originally, there was much more a greater focus on banking and saving with Kent Savers, which is a credit union. And this worked in response to the Archbishop of Canterbury's criticism of Wonga and other payday loans, which you might remember. So it led to people ending up in considerably more debt than they would be able to pay. And Kent Savers allows people to save, but also to receive loans at a much more affordable rate. We currently don't deal so much with Kent Savers, but we are meeting with them very soon to see how we can work alongside them and how it will affect with people who we're working with currently. And also, as Connecting Canterbury, we currently run at 2 hubs. So we work at Canterbury Baptist Church on a Thursday with their hub and food larder, and also on a Friday at All Saints. And I think it's actually really important that that's where we meet and that's where we work, because it means that not only are people able to receive food, but also able to receive help to be able to cook that food as well. So if I just try and go through the 3 different things. So the emergency energy grants are £15 vouchers, and people can receive 2 vouchers, so that's £30, over a space of 3 months. We then ask people to leave it for about 3 months so they don't become too reliant upon us. In the grand scheme of things, £15 may not seem like a huge amount. It's not a huge amount, especially with the rising costs of energy, and especially because the majority of our clients use prepayment meters. So when they come to us, they're often already in the emergency, and therefore they have to pay more to be able to get into credit. But they are so grateful for any help that they can receive. And so many people that we speak to actually apologise to us because they don't like asking for help. But it's got to that point where they realise that they need help and that they needed to find somewhere to be able to access that help. In the winter months, people were choosing whether to have heating or whether to feed their children or whether to go hungry for themselves. They would often rely on services offered by schools such as breakfast clubs, free school meals, make lunch, to ensure that their children ate because they didn't have the fuel to be able to use the oven, as well as heat the house, have showers, have baths, etc. Our title for this talk was To Feed the Hungry. And this is a job that I see many of our clients trying to do. And the hungry being them, being their families. And with these grants during 2022, as you can see, we actually distributed £9,120 to 562 people. So some of those people would have received more than 1 grant throughout the year. And between January and April of this year, we have so far distributed £2,575 to 172 different people. The second thing that we do is to apply for grants for household items. We mainly do this through Acts 435. Acts 435 is a national charity which is based in York and was originally set up by the Archbishop of York. And it's based on the verse from Acts 4:35, which says, "They laid it at the apostles' feet, and it was distributed to each as any had need." I love this focus of the sharing of resources and that anyone could receive. Acts 435 works through a network of churches across the UK, as well as individual posts on their website. People can apply for grants to help with a variety of needs. It's possible to help specific needs that are posted on the website. We use it slightly differently. So we act as advocates, applying for grants for people needing white goods, beds, carpets, amongst other items. We can apply for grants of up to £200, and these applications are then sent to the diocese, who complete the necessary forms on the national website. In 2022, around 80 grants were given. but we found a significant rise in people coming to us for these grants. It's partially due to the cost of living crisis, but also when people move into social housing, there is nothing. It is a concrete shell. There are no carpets, no beds, no ovens, no washing machines. And we had to actually take a break in April from accepting any applications. There were so many on the waiting list, because we were only allowed to have so many live at any one point, that we felt it was actually better to say no, we can't take an application, than to give people hope that we were taking no application, that they would get something, and then for them to kind of go, where is it, where is it, where is it? So we just said, actually, we need to take a break. So that was for the entirety of April, wasn't it? Yeah. So we're back now, and we've got a bit of a waiting list, but we seem to be pretty much back on track again now. But again, it's a difficult decision. We've got £200, it doesn't cover everything. So we have to work out what's most important. And really, that's down to those people to decide what's most important for them. We'll often encourage the people to go to Necessary Furniture in Hurstone or Emmaus in Dover, but they are also reliant upon donations. And we're finding that actually they don't often have the stuff in stock anymore either. So then we look at somewhere like Argos or Currys to see what we can get. But we've received so many positive responses from people who've received these grants. For example, we had a single mom of 2 who'd been homeless for 2 years. She was moved into a council house and had nothing. Was cooking everything in a microwave. But through the support of Acts 435, she was able to get an oven, enabling her to feed herself and her children so much better. Another lady, 73, with an 82-year-old husband who's housebound. Both of them have very severe health conditions. They live in a small flat, looking after their 2 grandchildren, whilst their daughter is training to be a nurse in Birmingham. 2 of the carpets in the flat are completely worn through, and therefore health conditions were not being helped at all. We were able to apply for an Acts 435 grant, but that did not cover the full cost of the carpets. We did some research and found another grant that we were able to apply for, and we actually found out on Monday that we were successful with that. So now she'll be able to have 2 new carpets with underlay fitted in the house. Now, this lady comes to speak to me every Thursday, whether she needs to or not, and it's often when we're speaking that she makes sure that I have a sip of my coffee, because she feels bad that I'm sitting there talking to her and I've got a lovely latte sitting there, and she's just like, make sure. And I'm just like, okay. And I always feel bad when I ask her to go because I've got somebody queuing who needs to speak to me. Today, I told her that she'd got the full grant, and she was so excited. You could just see the joy on her face. It was at that point that she actually told me that next week, apparently, I'm going to be having a phone conversation with her husband, because her husband wants to say thank you to me. So apparently I'm having a 5-minute conversation with her husband next week. So that's something for me to look forward to. We also had an Iranian gentleman who was in need of a laptop, and he came up to me today just so grateful that the money had come through and that he was able to get that laptop this weekend and then able to do his English course, which he desperately wants to do, so that he's able to do more as he's living here. It's amazing to hear those stories. So it's not just about us helping, it's about us building those relationships. And it's those relationships which is actually a hunger that many people have. So those 2 things, I'd say, are the 2 things that we do most, the emergency energy grants and the Acts 435 applications. However, it's often through those discussions that we end up signposting people to other places where they may be able to receive specialist help. Over the last few months, we've helped a Ukrainian lady and her daughter making phone calls and filling out forms because it was so difficult for her with her limited English. Many of the people who we see have limited use of computers. and so many of the forms at the moment have to be filled out on computers. So I've helped somebody do a renewal for a bus pass, and filling out forms for a dentist appointment, as well as a renewal of a TV licence. Literally don't know what you're going to get each week. So that's where that importance of building those relationships plays a part, that these people feel comfortable to come to us and ask for help. And even if we don't know an answer straight away, we will always try to help. And if we have citizens' advice there, like Kate, then we'll just go over there. They'll be able to help. So that's why we love citizens' advice so much. There's many other reasons, obviously. And we're called Connecting Canterbury. We do try to make connections within the city, not only for the people that we help, but also for the city as a whole. And last year we started a project, Living Directory. I have got a couple more with me, but it's also on the website now as well, as in the diocesan website. And this is a booklet that's regularly updated and holds information about a number of different organisations around the city, what they do and how they can be contacted. They're mainly meant for organisations to use to seek information to then pass on to clients. They're updated regularly, printed at the diocese, as well as being available on the social justice page. And they've been useful for us as a team, but have been received positively by other organisations as well. We're trying to work alongside other organisations to be able to feed the need that we see around us and in the city of Canterbury. On the 30th of September, we're working alongside Canterbury Rooke, which is Redeeming Our Communities, to host a community fair with a focus on organisations that work with families and children as an opportunity to see what else is going on in the city and to start discussions to see how we can work together. And just to end, I want to talk a little bit about the impact that Connecting Canterbury has had on me. It's all Liz's fault, which possibly won't surprise you at all, but it is all Liz's fault. In September 2021, I had gone from being a full-time teacher, spending my days with teenagers, planning lessons, organising collective worship, and having quite a structured day, to being at home with no plan and watching a lot of TV. I was lost. I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing, and I did pretty much feel useless. I was in a ridiculously bad place. I felt down. I felt hungry to be doing something. I just didn't know what it was. At Harvest, at All Saints, we were taking offerings for a community larder. But there was also a mention of, if people were interested in volunteering with the community larder, go and speak to Liz. I nudged Gav and looked up to him, and he kind of went, very helpful, as husbands are. So I went over, spoke to Liz, we had a chat, and then I went along on that Friday. I was actually up in the larder sorting tins, which was fine by me. But then Liz also said, oh, you should come along on Thursday to a Baptist church. I went. I didn't have a clue what I was actually doing, but I went along. I sat at the Connecting Canterbury table, and I think pretty much the rest is history. When I started, it was for me. It got me out of the house, it gave me a purpose. I liked knowing that I was doing something on a Thursday and a Friday. I liked being given jobs to do because I was the young one who knew what to do with a computer. Seriously. It still hasn't changed. And my hunger, which I hadn't realised was there, was being met. As time's gone on, there's been a definite change. I've become more aware of the need that is out there. And although we're able to help practically, there is so much more. Patrick spoke here last week about going out and meeting people. I have to admit that really is not my strong point. Sitting behind a table, speaking to people, not a problem at all. But going out, not my place. But we all have a part to play, and it's a matter of finding that part to meet the needs. At the hubs, we will often see the same people every week. The hunger isn't only for food, but to be able to meet with people, to be treated with respect, to be given support and care. It's a privilege to be able to be part of the teams that enable people to feel that. And I feel this is similar to the compassion that Jesus showed in his life. Everyone has a hunger, hungers that come in so many different forms. As a team, both with Connecting Canterbury and the Community Larder, we try to recognise the hungers and find a way that we are able to meet that hunger. It's a constant project. It's completely run by volunteers, which Connecting Canterbury, I have to say, are running very short of at the moment, hint, hint. But it's a project that continues to evolve and that we continue to develop as needs require. We are so grateful for all the support given to us by colleagues in the diocese, and particularly the support from Jonathan and the Social Justice Network. Thank you very much. We have to answer questions. Apparently we have to answer questions.
Are there any questions?
Is that a no?
I have a question.
Wait, I've got to.
No, it's okay.
I've got to.
I'm a teacher.
Oh, no.
Okay. How many hours does it take you every week, Liz, to run Community Larder?
I've never really stopped to tot it up because I think it wouldn't make any difference anyway. I'd still do it. But it isn't just a question of turning up on a Friday morning. As I explained in my talk, my week this week started on Sunday night at 10:22. That was the first message that came in, and have been working every day since with some organisation or another to make sure that by tomorrow, which is our big day, we're all equipped and ready to go. So I don't know.
I'm just going to change your slide.
Sorry about that. This was a lovely... Archbishop Justin came and spent some time with us with Channel 4, and this is one of my favourite photos because it shows the tea and toast session, and he was sat with Tristan, who has given permission for this photograph to be shown publicly, and it just epitomises the friendship and the relationships that are possible in that environment.
This isn't really a question, not so much a question as an observation. So thank you for your kind words about citizens' advice, but I just wanted to say that it's brilliant for us too, and it's a great space where other organisations can be in the right place to be offering their services, our services. You know, we were aware that we weren't seeing as many people as we would like from Northgate Ward, from the poorest parts of town. So it made sense to go where people are rather than expecting them to come to us, and that's really worked well. So thank you.
I think that's what we found is that every week now we get people coming to us saying, "Oh, citizens' advice here," and they get a bit annoyed with us if we say no, they're not here this week. But it's there's such a difference between having to phone up and make an appointment to just being able to go have a cup of tea and just go over and say, hello, this is what I need, this is my problem. And although, again, might not be able to help, you can get them into a right place within Citizens' Advice. And I think that's been such a great addition to what was going on anyway.
I think that face-to-face thing's important, and actually you might not go and talk to Kate this week, but you're watching her while she's working with other people, and you're actually summing up, is she somebody I might be able to talk to? And of course eventually they've built the confidence to do that. A recent development, very recent, and it will be the first time for us at All Saints tomorrow, is the NHS coming with display stands about cervical screening, and they are wanting to get in touch with people who they will not otherwise see. They will not go to the surgery. And so the plan is that they might come once a month with a different aspect of health under consideration. And that's another opportunity that we have to be connecting with people.
I'm not sure whether I haven't quite understood, but can you tell me how Connecting Canterbury is funded? Because you're saying your volunteers and you're facilitating getting applications and things like that. So do you need funding? And if so, what are we funding?
I shall try, and you can butt in as well. So we're part of a social justice network, which is within the diocese. Yeah, I'll let you help as well. Yeah.
So the Social Justice Network, it's a new title for one of the frameworks within the diocese. It used to be called Communities and Partnerships, but nobody ever really understood what that meant. And so it's really honed its work through Jonathan into really social justice projects. So your wonderful work that you do, but also work with the homeless, work with refugees, and lots of other people who struggle on the margins, really. And so I know that Jonathan and his colleague Karen, who's just leaving, they actually apply for grants to keep these amazing projects going. But I have to say, it's often because of the sheer, just hearing you speak this evening and how moving it is to hear of your dedication and the dedication of the volunteers. In a sense, it's such a good news story that these are the kind of projects that people want to actually put their money to. And I think it's incredible work that you're doing. That explains a little bit.
Yeah, essentially we do still need funding. We have got a team who try to apply for grants and to support us. But the money that then comes into Connecting Canterbury, the majority of it will be going on at the moment will be going on the emergency energy grants to help support people.
So you are, from your funds, actually giving people money to see them through the next week?
Yeah.
I see. So that's where you need the funds.
Yes.
I'm just really trying to.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
I can see where you need funds.
Yeah.
And I'm not separating you.
No.
But you're coming at it from a different
Yes.
aspect.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
So there's quite an opportunity to go into churches, for instance, and talk to congregations about the work that we're doing and to invite people to contribute if they would like. And there are some very generous donors that come in via that route, which is helpful. But there are other means as well.
because Liz also works with me on Connecting Canterbury on a Thursday at the Baptist church, but obviously on a Friday she's slightly busier elsewhere, running just a little bit. So, but yeah, that's where our funds mainly go. So.
Can you just say a bit more about the source of the grants? Because, I'm intrigued to know how much of this funding comes from statutory services and government, from anonymous donors, from private trusts like Roundtree, from various county council sources. There must be quite an array. Next to none of it consists of diocesan funds. The diocese is getting them from a whole range of voluntary, established private trusts. As I say, Roundtree is the one that first springs to mind, but of course there are hundreds of them actually. So could you just, I know that's a bit technical, but it's very important.
I can try, is my answer. So as I say, I only took over lead in February anyway. And what I became aware of very quickly was that we were actually running quite low. Because the last couple of years we've given out more grants than we ever have done before. That's why I think I'm working closer with the people at the diocese, the support team, to try and apply for more grants. I think Karen had been, but at the moment, there's more from regular people who have been giving regularly for years. I'm now in the process of going round to quite a few churches. I've got quite a few churches lined up to go and present to them, and hopefully get some volunteers or to get some funding. But yeah, that's definitely something that we're looking more into.
So the social justice group have a fundraiser, is my understanding, and we're just in transition from one to another. And they're obviously people who are skilled in the art of making applications for grants from a whole range of organisations, as you mentioned. So it's something that we're not necessarily too in touch with, we're on the receiving end of, but the data will be there if required. I'm sure Jonathan would be able to help you access that.
Is that a hand? Okay.
No. Got one over here.
Do you feel is demand for your services sort of continuing to go up, and do you see it continue to go up in the future? And do you find that sometimes demand is more than you can actually meet?
The projections that are being done at the moment by people at a national level are suggesting that while the energy costs are likely to be reducing, the cost of food is going to go on increasing. So that the projection for a year going forward is not looking terribly hopeful in terms of, what we're going to need to be doing in response to that.
And I think from the energy grant perspective, what I'm finding is that because we've had to change the way in which we were doing, we used to give out cash, we now give out vouchers. And we're asking for ID now as well. It's definitely working better, it's a better system. But we are getting more people, we're still getting new people coming to us. But it does actually seem to be new people, because some of the people who, if we're completely honest, where some of the cash would go. So some of those people aren't coming back to us anymore, but we've got new people coming. So the fact that we've still got those new people coming to us, being referred to us by the job centre and by other places as well, I'd say that the need is still definitely there.
And I think the need is going to be more challenging. So we even get people now referred to us by the Canterbury Food Bank. They will go to the Canterbury Food Bank and they haven't got their paperwork and all the things that are necessary, and so they will send them to us on a Friday. And when I first was introduced to the community larder, we were giving out 8 bags a week. We're now up to 50 on average, between 45 and 50 a week. And I don't see any sign of that reducing. It's a gradual increase.
Can you tell me what paperwork they have to have for the food bank then?
So they have to be referred by an agency. So there's a lot of information that is collected by the food bank before they will assign, I think it's 5 packs across a year of food to a family or an individual.
It has to be a referral for each time, isn't it? So sometimes we have been doing referrals ourselves to the food bank as well. But yeah, they have to be referred by certain agencies, and it has to be, it's only 5 across the year.
And I think we've seen on the television quite a few reports from the food banks nationally that they're struggling to fill their warehouses now. So it is a real issue.
Well, it must be said we were promised, weren't we, that it was going to be an interesting and good job. I think you've done a fabulous job, both of you.
Thank you.
Absolutely wonderful. So interesting, and you both speak as transformed people by what you do. It's incredibly humbling to hear what you do, the difference you make, but also what the difference has made to both of your lives.
It is transformational work, there's no doubt about that.
So if you've been touched, then do just talk to Liz and Helen, and if you want to be involved or anything else, or Jonathan through the social justice network. And can I just say one thing as the sort of cathedral representative here, that your living directory is an absolute godsend. So as you can imagine, the cathedral here it's quite prominent in the city, and it does attract people who are in great need. And we always struggle what to do. I mean, we know some of the charities, and then this amazing document fell into my lap, and it just showed that it's here and here and here, and I kept turning the pages going, oh my God, just look at all the work. Yes. And so immediately it went out to everyone in the cathedral. You have this with the constables, you have this in the main office, so everybody in the cathedral is using that directory to signpost people on. So I want to thank you and all the work that's gone into that direction. I know Jonathan was behind it too. That has made it possible for just that. I know it's a lot of hard work, but that is really transformational for an organisation like this to be able to reach us. So thank you very much. Should we give them a final